All right, Justin, your favorite part of this whole thing is the sports. So we're going to jump into this right now. We're talking about the NFL. Now, it was a really, really big week, but let's listen to this video first and take a look at this. This is phenomenal.
They took him off, and they took him off because the owner said take him off.
Talking about Shedeur Sanders for the people who don't know.
Shedeur Sanders just torpedoed himself. His attitude off the field at the combine, his dad didn't help him either. You know, he was on podcast talking about, this is my son. If I can get him to where I want to get him to, I'm going to do that. But, you know, when you listen to this kid talk right prior or at the combine about you want a new culture in your locker room, I'm the guy to do that. I can turn it around. I mean, he's very high on himself. And I think he was very off-putting to many, many coaches and general managers in the league. And I'm telling you right now, and I know this after talking to 3 different personnel people.
Boomer Esiason, for the people who don't know, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals for a very long time.
They took him off, and they took him off because the owner said take him off. I don't want that guy. I don't want this entitled person on our team. And I don't blame him.
You know what? It's unfortunate because here's a kid, you know, he's a young man, right? I mean, he's going to make some mistakes, but I think some of that would be the arrogance factor, and I think that's what Boomer's talking about here, and the fact that, you know, let's be honest, Deion could be somebody who could be very polarizing potentially for wherever his son was going to go. I don't think he's got the same sort of moves that he would have had the kid gone in the first 3 or 4 or 5 picks rather than going in the 4th or 5th round. So, you know what? Maybe that will humble him to some degree. There was another quarterback, by the way, Justin, who was picked before him in this draft. So that's probably pretty humbling as well. I think there's a lot of things, but we'll see how that all plays out. Now, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers are an interesting team, so I'm going to jump over to that real quick. Everybody's talking about, okay, we've gone through the combines, we've gone through the draft. Where is Aaron Rodgers? And I know that you're not the biggest football guy in the world, but I know that you would know who Aaron Rodgers is. He's been around the NFL for a long time. He's a 40-year-old guy who's still has the ability to play in the NFL, I think. But the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to kind of push it down the road. They do not really have a quarterback there yet. And they haven't had a quarterback who's quarterback 1 for them since they had a guy named Roethlisberger who was there. He's been retired for a while now. So they did draft somebody, Will Howard of Ohio State, but he's in the 6th round. They got another guy, Mason Rudolph, a few years ago, going back to 2018. He was in the 3rd round. So they haven't really gone out and found that quarterback. And I keep thinking that Aaron Rodgers is the guy who probably steps in over there. I know it sounds crazy for me to ask you this way, but what do you think? I mean, as an outsider, sort of, what do you think of a guy like Aaron Rodgers and the fact that he went to the New York Jets, it did not work, and now he's trying to find a home, and he hasn't found a home yet? What do you think of something like that? Would you want a guy like that on your team who he has his own issues probably as well?
I think both stories are really similar in a way because both people are super talented and have kind of had these outside of football things pervade maybe the story about how they fit into a team, right? With Shedeur, Boomer's talking about, hey, whether he's good or not, do we really want him on the team if he could be this toxic force that could maybe kind of bring down the energy with all of this showboating that he might be doing? And with Aaron Rodgers, you know, I haven't seen any evidence that he's necessarily a bad guy at all. But obviously there's this like over politicization with some of his appearances and things he said on some podcasts and stuff like that, that I think at this stage in the, you know, in the ecosphere of what we're all talking about, I think is a lot more acceptable now. And I think a lot of us can kind of understand where he was coming from. But at the same time, it still sort of is this shadow that casts itself over his career. So, I mean, would I want him on my team? Hell yeah. It sounds like a buy the dip opportunity to me, but that's coming from a like an investing mindset.
Hey man, I think it's like Brinker. I think he's you got to buy him. And I think if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think you at this point in time, based on the draft, where you are, what your quarterback room looks like, I think you're exactly right. And you're buying him on the dip. I mean, the possibility, if he wants to play, you probably don't have to pay him nearly as much as what the New York Jets did. And I think that's an opportunity. They have a great coaching staff. They have a great defense. They have a very good offense, except at the quarterback position. So it almost is is packaged up perfectly for Aaron Rodgers to make a decision there. I really believe that. How about this one? Number 2. During the draft, there were some guys out there, more than one, but there were some guys. One of them is the son of a defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, right? Somehow he got a hold of some of the numbers of some of the players that are in the draft and started pranking and calling guys up and saying, hey, this is Jim Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'd love to just let you know that we just took you in the first round. I mean, talk about offensive. My God, these kids, you bring up their expectations. They think it's real and it's a prank. That's something that a lot of people have been talking about. How did they get the numbers? How did they do this? But I just look at it from the standpoint of talking about breaking a guy's heart. My gosh, you go in there and you do that. So I have come up with something that I think would be really something that people could use to figure out whether or not this was fair or not. So what it is I got a guy who's wrestling alligators down here in Florida, and I'm going to have Jared put up the film because I think these guys are going to have to do the same thing. All right, you think it's funny? You're going to have to do what this guy does. Look at this 10-foot gator here on the interstate.
This is my favorite superhero, Florida man, for anyone who doesn't know.
This guy does this for a living, by the way, but still. How about these guys have to do that? How about the guts on this guy? I mean, honestly, look at this.
Like it's an everyday thing, like taking out the trash.
He gets a little help. They put it up there. I mean, that thing weighs a few pounds. I'll tell you what. I don't think these guys would ever make a prank call again in their entire life, and it might stop a lot of other people from prank calls if they had something like that. What do you think?
It's more than just a prank call, too. It's kind of fraud, right? It's bordering on. I don't want to say that, but it's bordering on very, very bad. Honestly, I mean, you hate to be somebody who thinks that their life is going to change, and then you find out that it was just a prank. Like, who is that prank even for? Who derives joy from that? That's terrible.
It's awful. I feel bad for the players because, they're just waiting for the time of their life. I mean, this is the biggest day of their lives, is sitting there for the draft, whether it's the NBA, the NHL, NFL, whatever. I mean, you've worked your whole life to get there. You're probably 20 years old, maybe 21 years old, and all of a sudden you get this prank. I mean, that's pretty brutal. So I'm endorsing the idea that these guys are going to have to wrestle some gators in the future.
I endorse it as well.
Justin, really appreciate you, man. You last minute, and you're here. You're an animal. You covered the stuff great, as you always do. I really appreciate that. I don't know if we'll have John tomorrow, but if we don't have John, suit up again. Look forward to seeing you, man. And everybody else, have a great day of trading.